So the first thing we thought we'd cover, and I'll let Jill talk about it from here, is just a little bit of the beauty of Washington from those of you who aren't here. This is somewhere in the North Cascades.
That's correct.
All right.
Yes, we are extremely fortunate. For those of you who either live in Washington State or been here, natural beauty is pretty unparalleled. So that's a trail through the North Cascades, which is a national park in the north part of our state. The next image, I think,
Yep. Bring it up, Dave. Next one.
Is Mount St. Helens. So for those of us that were around in the early 80s, know that that used to be a bigger mountain than it is now. But it now is a pretty amazing national monument and fun to visit and see
The
what.
pictures don't do it justice. Chalupa's from here, and so he knows. We're getting questions in, which is great. Keep bringing them. And audience members, you always know if every question has one vote, it means the first person to vote on it gets to pick what we talk about. So I will just tell a St. Helens story I don't know if I've ever told you. So I grew up in Ohio, and though it's my birthday in 1984 when it went boom, I was somewhat younger. And 2 days after that, all of our cars actually had black grit from the ash having drifted all the way to Ohio, like 2,000 air miles away. Our cars, we had a white family station wagon, and it was covered with black grit that far away.
Yeah, Minnesota too.
Yeah.
It was a big topic of conversation. But so that's Mount St. Helens down in the south part of our state, southwest part of our state. The next picture, well, this is, I'm not sure where, but
Any
it is
trail in Washington.
Your typical trail through the Cascades or the Olympic Mountains, that kind of peaceful scenery.
The most important thing to say fairly that you know it's a Washington trail is it goes uphill.
That's true. That's
We
true.
don't have much for flat trails.
Yeah, don't come expecting. As a flatlander from Minnesota, that was a little bit of a adjustment period when I first came out to Seattle.
All right.
This one is another national park, Mount Rainier.
Yep.
And if you haven't been there, it's spectacular.
Yeah.
Both to, you want to?
Yeah, I'll talk about this. This is actually a place, the picture isn't mine, but I've hiked this very trail. It's a place called Grand Park. The thing that's sad about this picture is that's normally at the right time of year, that's a meadow full of wildflowers. This picture is actually a little bit later, obviously, in the season. But I've also climbed Mount Rainier, and I'm looking forward to doing it again soon. And I failed. It turns out the little bump on the left-hand side of Mount Rainier there, the like black rocky thing, is called Little T or Little Tahoma. And it's actually the third highest peak in the state, but I haven't gotten up it. I got stopped on my attempt to go climb it, which you'd think if you can climb the big one to the right, the little one to the left would be easy, but climbing doesn't work out that way.
It doesn't work. I've climbed Mount Rainier as well, so
Nice.
we have a common. And my favorite backpack actually in Washington State is the Wonderland Trail that goes around a full circumference of Rainier. So if you like backpacking, I highly, highly recommend that trail.
T.A. Kimchi, welcome. I'm glad you're able to catch one of the shows live. It's great to have you here. All right, let's keep going. We'll talk about, we'll get through the...
And then last, this is, that picture is most likely the Olympic Peninsula or Olympic National
Forest, the rainforest.
The rainforest, which is truly stunning.
Woohoo!
From a very, we've got the grand vistas, and then we've got the really incredible rainforest and big trees as well.
All right, we have our first charity bidder in at $50. Whoever you are, we're keeping you anonymous. If you want to call yourself out, that's up to you. We're not going to stick your names in chat because we don't want to expose you if you don't want that public. But thank you very much, and I very much appreciate it. And keep them coming. We'll go back to for anybody who's joined while we've been talking, we'll go back to the auction rules in a few minutes. I also see questions are coming in. Let's go ahead and go through the rest of what the WTA does, though, real quick.
Sure, real quickly. While you all got to see a very few pictures from the beauty that's our state. I think the other exciting thing about Washington, or where we're really, really lucky, is that we have the Washington Trails Association. And, Washington Trails Association is an organization that's been around for 50 years. And really what we are is a catalyst for the hiking community to help folks get outside exploring, to give back to the trails, and to speak up for our public lands. And it's really, we're able to be an organization that takes, thousands, literally, tens of thousands of folks who care about the outdoors and want to get out hiking and help them make a difference. And I think that's, I know, there's no other place in the nation that has an organization like WTA, and I'm pretty sure probably the world too, although I'm love to find out if I'm wrong there.
Yeah, as a board member, one of the things would love to see as a vision is, and Jill knows this, is us to help replicate the WTA in other states. It turns out that's tricky, and we won't go into all the policy parts here. Keep rolling on the slides. Meanwhile, I love the questions we have in. If you have questions for Jill and I, go ahead and on nonprofit and government leadership, stick them in, and we'll get to them here in a minute. So this is our mission.
Yeah, and big piece of nonprofit is we work towards a mission, and our mission is to mobilize hikers and everyone who loves the outdoors to explore, steward, and champion trails and public lands. And I think the big piece there that I just mentioned is really we are the catalyst for community to explore, to steward, and to champion our trails and public lands. And really everything that we do fits in those three pillars. And I can talk a little bit about what each one of those pillars is briefly, and then we can get to the question. So the first pillar we call Explore, and that's
Next
really
slide, Dave.
about helping people get out and experience our amazing scenery. And so we have, in that pillar, we have a website, WTA.org, which if you haven't checked it out, please do.
The link's in chat. Many of you have seen it a billion times.
Yeah, it's really is the go-to hiking guide for trails all across Washington State. I think we have something like 3,000 trails on our hiking guide, but I think what makes it really unique, again, is the power of the community, and that's our trip report feature, which is fellow hikers go and write a report about how their hike was, and what they found. Was there logs? Was it crowded parking lot, what have you, and that really helps hikers know what to expect and to plan for their trip. So that's a pretty valuable piece of how we help folks get out exploring. The next pillar is Steward, and that really, the biggest piece there is we have a volunteer trail maintenance program that's now 25 years old, and really, to be honest, is at a scale that never ceases to amaze me. Last year we had nearly 5,000 people turn out for a work party, at least one, many of them, many more than one. And we give back to maintaining trails and helping to keep trails open, clear, safe for folks to explore. And we have both adult volunteer work opportunities, and then we have a large, robust youth volunteer trail maintenance program as well.
Yep. And I've been on several of those. We can talk about them later if people have questions.
Yep.
Roll on.
And then the last bucket is our champion bucket, and that's really about raising our voices to protect public lands and trails, to speak up for the significant underfunding in outdoor recreation infrastructure, to make sure that we're preserving our environment, that we're protecting those places that make Washington unique, that make the United States unique. And so we're really fortunate. There are thousands of folks. This year, I think it's 5,000, maybe even more, 8,000 folks who've taken an advocacy action through WTA. So we really are that conduit or catalyst for the nonprofit community. And I think we have a few more pictures here of sort of our programs in action. So, this is our explorers. These are folks that are out on snowshoe hikes and other
Go to
trips.
the next couple, Dave.
As part of we have a gear lending library that works with youth organizations to help them provide gear to take their kids outside.
And I wish we don't have the photo up, but there's a map that shows all the places we've helped youth get out over across the state. Yeah. And you might have the stats memorized, but I know we've gotten a large number of different organizations out because we don't run trips. We just lend the gear, and then churches, youth groups, etc., borrow it and take kids out all over the place.
Yep, that's right. When we train the leaders as well
on
how to take kids out safely. So keep on going, I think. This looks like we're into our trail maintenance and stewardship, and again, 5,000 people, turn out every year. We worked this year. I just saw the stats. I think we've worked on 261 trails so far this year, all across Washington State. So again, the scale is just really, really exciting.
Keep
few
going.
more pictures. We rely on horses to pack our gear in. That's how,
Leave
how
it there
trail
for a
maintenance
sec.
happens.
So that's Jill on trail.
No, this is not Jill.
Is
Me
it
on
not
trail.
Jill
That
on trail?
better not be me.
Where's Jill on trail? I'm keep going.
Coming.
Let's get there.
And then lastly, you know, we have advocacy, and so this is a picture down in Washington, and Washington State Capitol in Olympia. Every other year, we have a hiker rally day. That's a picture from hiker rally day. And then we also go out to trailheads and provide opportunities for folks to sign petitions and speak up, you know, when they're thinking about the importance of these places. And then here's a few. That's me in the red shirt there, trying to lift a rock. That's what it takes multiple volunteers to build a rock wall, and there are some volunteers who specialize in rock walls and finding the perfect rock in the nature to build the trail. And then that is me in trail with my shovel, mud, all of those fun things.
And I've done this. I have a green hat. You get a green hat once you put in 5 days on trail.
With your name on it.
With your name on it, absolutely. So, hey, thank you, Kuro Can. I appreciate the birthday wishes.